Okay, so let's start over here with Ois Gimel. Ois Gimel. So he says Vahabiur Bazehu. So the explanation of this is so he talked about before about the idea that sukkah is a level of makifim. And because it's a level of makifim, it's not just a regular level of makifim, but it's a makif which surrounds the person fully. And he asked, so why does it say basukas teshvu? So that means that it comes in a way of pnimis, because yeshiva is the level of pnimis. So what is this makif that we come to pnimis? Also, why are we saying the man yedu deresechem when we ourselves are sitting in the sukkah all the time? So now he's going to explain how this whole idea of makif is connected to the Yomim Tovim beforehand. Basically, on Rosh Hashanah, we have certain giluyim, certain levels of revelations, but they're still hidden. B'chlal Rosh Hashanah, the pasuk calls it bakesa. Kesa means it's covered, because generally Rosh Hashanah is doch on Rosh Chodesh, and Rosh Chodesh, the moon is erst being visible, but until the first, second of the month, it's bakesa. So everything on Rosh Hashanah is considered to be bakesa. That means that it is covered. Then, as the month goes on, and when we come to Sukkot, Sukkot is already on the 15th day of the month. So on Sukkot, it's revealed. That is Liyoim Chagenu, that what comes over there becomes in a revealed way. And the same thing is going to say is about Yom Kippur, that what the avodah of Yom Kippur, which is still hidden, comes out begilui to Sukkot. But he says that comes in the Sukkah, which is a makif, because Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are all such high madregas, which are makifim, but they come out in Sukkot. Let's look inside. Gimel. Va'bir bazehu, the explanation in this is, ka'amur li'il, as said earlier, shesukkah hu inyan makif. That sukkah is the idea of makif, that it is surrounds the person. This person goes into the sukkah, and this sukkah encompasses the entire person. So he brings down, how does this sukkah become in the idea of encompassing a level of makif? The hine kesiv, behold, the pasuk says, bakesa liyom chagenu. That is which is kesa, which is covered, which is on Rosh Hashanah. That's called bakesa. That is the time when it's covered, as I said, because it's the new month. There's no moon yet that's covered yet. Is liyoim chagenu. It comes out openly to the day of chagenu. Chagenu, that's the festival. That's Sukkot. So all these great giluyim, which are in Rosh Hashanah hidden, when it comes Sukkot, they come out revealed in an open way. The chol ha-inyonim sheheim bakesa, all inyonim that are kesa covered, which is kisui vehelam. Kesa means it's covered and obscure, blocked. Behayomim shalifnei yom chagenu, in the days that precede, that come before the days of our festival, the Sukkot. Mizgalim heim besukkos, they become out revealed on Sukkot. They come out openly. They are revealed. So he's going to give now two examples of inyonim that come before Sukkot, that they come out in Sukkot revealed. The two inyonim, he's going to talk about Yom Kippur, and first talk about the Rosh Hashanah, that what takes place on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur comes out openly, begilui in Sukkot. So it says, so K'moi inyan ha-shofar, the Rosh Hashanah, say, for example, the shofar of Rosh Hashanah. Now, Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, what is Rosh Hashanah? I mean, Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Hadin. There's various different things of Rosh Hashanah. But what is Rosh Hashanah's mitzvahs? Shemitzvahs hayom b'shofar. The mitzvah of the day, what is Rosh Hashanah's mitzvah? That is the shofar. So that means the central and most essential part of Rosh Hashanah is the sounding of the shofar. So we're going to talk about that most important part of Rosh Hashanah, which is hidden, comes out openly into the Sukkot. Sukkot, what is Sukkah? We translate Sukkah as a hut, little structure that we build. But the truth is, Sukkot, the word Sukkot, and the idea of Sukkot comes from the lashon of schach, which is cover, which is the main part actually of the sukkah, is to sit underneath the schach. The walls also need to be there, but that's not the main thing. Is the sukkah is the schach. The word schach is the numerical value is 100. Samach is 60, chof and chof, each one 20. So 60 and 40 is together 100. This 100, this schach, is related to Rosh Hashanah, to the shofar, because you make 100 sounds in the shofar. That's the mitzvah. The best way to do it is to make 100 sounds of the shofar, and that's connected. The 100 shofar is connected to the sechach, which is the main thing of sukkahs, which is also equals 100. Let's look inside. The Zehu, this is the idea, mashaschach, that the fact that the schach, the kol sukkahs hakosu schach mashma. Every time that the Pasuk talks about sukkahs, it's not talking about the hut, it's not talking about the walls, it's talking about the schach. When the Torah says, for example, you should sit in the sukkah, the Torah is talking about sit under the schach of the sukkah. It's talking about the schach. As quoting from Rashi, the doifen loy ikri sukkah. The walls are not called a sukkah. The walls are the walls of the structure, but the sukkah is the sechach, is the cover. So the fact is that the sechach, which is the main part of the sukkah, is begematria meya. That has the numerical value of 100, because what is the number 100 schach? That is keneged meya koilos. That corresponds to the 100 voices, sounds, the shofar shenohagu Yisrael, that the custom is. See, technically, one can fulfill, it's just 30 sounds. Doing it better, so it brings down. Here we're saying schach corresponds to the 100 sounds, but the truth is that we don't really, technically, halachically, we're not required to make 100 sounds. But the thing is like this: if you add up the Tkiyas Miyushav, which has 30, and then you have the ones you do with the chazan, and then you do when the repetition of the shots, then you do the kaddish, the chatzi kaddish, altogether it comes out to 100. So, but this is not just tamazoi, but it says this is a minhag to do that, and sheminag Yisrael toirahi, because the fact that it's a minhag, that is means that it is actually a Torah. That's the right thing. So we're actually talking about something which is important, which is main. So therefore, the fact that the Yidden Litkoya Beresh Hashanah, to blow on Rosh Hashanah. So the first thing is the connection. We see 100 tkiyas, which is a custom, which is Minhag Yisrael Torah, equals the word schach, which is also gematria 100, and the schach is the main thing of the sukkahs. Not only the general number of schach 100 equals the 100 koilas, But also the 100 koilas, if you split them up, there is 60 tkiyas, and there is 20 shvarim, and there is 20 trua, so which means the samach, the chof, and the chof, schach. So you have 60, 20, and 20. So he says, v'gam protei hakoilis. Also, the specific sounds, merumozim, are hinted beha'oisiyos the schach in the letters of the word schach, because you have samach, koilis the tkiya. You have 60. That's the samach of schach, the 60 sounds of tkiya. Chof, koilis the shvarim. You have 20 sounds of shvarim, v'chof the trua, and 20 of the trua. So it's represented samach, chof, chof. So you see the correlation, you see the connection between the Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. This gives explanation to what he said before, what takes place on Rosh Hashanah, Bekesa, in a covered, in a hidden, in an obscure way, comes out openly in the schach of the Sukkah. That's as far as Rosh Hashanah goes, which comes out in Sukkot. Then we have Yom Kippur as well. It's brought down that the main avodah on Yom Kippur was when the Kohen Gadol went inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and he offered the incense over there. He put the ketoros on the inside in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and it says that the smoke of the incense would go up, and he said that smoke eventually comes to the schach of the sukkah, that onon, that cloud that comes from that smoke of the ketoros, which he does Yom Kippur, is the source for the schach of the sukkah. So it says, similar to what we're talking about Rosh Hashanah, also as it relates to the idea of HaKetoros, the Yom HaKippurim, the Ketoros Yom Kippurim, Shabo Begilu Yom Chagenu, which comes out openly L'Yom Chagenu, to the days of our festival, to the day of Sukkah. As it's known, Sheschach HaSukkah, the schach for the Sukkah, Unase Me'anan HaKetoros the Yom HaKippurim. That becomes of the smoke of the Ketoros on Yom Kippur. So that Ketoros, that cloud which is covered on Yom Kippur, comes out openly on Sukkot. But the Rebbe cautions here, explains this whole reason why do we say Rosh Hashanah is hidden. So I explained before Bakesa, because it's the beginning of the month. But now we're talking about Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is already on the 10th of the month. So Yom Kippur, it's not covered as much anymore, because the Bakesa, L'Yom Chagenu, is Bakesa, mainly is Rosh Hashanah. Here we're saying that also the smoke of Yom Kippur, which is the Anan HaKetoros that comes from the avodah of Yom Kippur, that becomes the sechach for the sukkahs. But why are we saying on Yom Kippur that it's covered, but Yom Kippur is already a gilui, it's no longer in the beginning of the month? Look inside. Even though on Yom Kippur there is already the idea of revelation. Why? Because the Iker Inyan Bakesa, the main idea of Bakesa, that it's covered, which from this we learn out, it says, Tiku Bachoida Shofar Bakesa L'Yom Chagenu, that you should blow Bachoidesh. So he says, when is it? It must be the beginning of the month, HaChoidesh Miskase. That's when the month, the moon, the Chodesh, the new moon, when it's covered, because it's the beginning of the month. So mainly when we talk about things are hidden and are not revealed, That's mainly on Rosh Hashanah, who b'tchilas hachodesh. That's in the beginning of the month, Rosh Hashanah. So why are we saying that what happens on Yom Kippur is still obscure? It comes out begilui, but on Yom Kippur it's already not the beginning of the month, so it should not be then hidden. It should be a gilui then too. So he says, so even though that on Yom Kippur it's already begilui, because mainly the covered is on Rosh Hashanah, and by Yom Kippur it's already begilui. And why are we saying that this has Gilui is happening on Sukkot? So he says, Mikol Mokom, nevertheless, Hagilui the Yom HaKippurim, that revelation which is on Yom Kippur, Ikraihu Lamailo, mainly it's above. It's in the higher spheres, in the Ruchnis, in the higher levels over there on Yom Kippur, the things are already revealed. But what happens on Sukkot, Nimshach Hagilui Lamato, then the Gilui comes down below, that it comes out openly. You see that what takes place on Yom Kippur, the Ad Asher Schach HaSukkah, Habo Manana Keteres Diyem HaKippurim, to such an extent is the revelation that the Schach, you can see the Schach of the Sukkah, that comes from Habo Manan HaKeteres Diyem HaKippurim, which comes from the Anan HaKeteres of Yom Kippur. That Schach is Nira Gam Le'enei Basar. You can see it also with the eyes of flesh. So you see Schach, that means that the Gilui came down not just Lamaila, but also Lamato. Physically, you can see Schach. That means that the Hamshocha, the Anan HaKetodes that took place on Yom Kippur comes down openly to the extent that we see it on Sukkot openly. Now, Rebbe adds another idea over here that Yom Kippur is still 5 days before Sukkot. What happens from the Anan HaKetodes that we experience on Yom Kippur on the 10th of the month until the Sukkot is the 15th of the month. But the truth of the matter is people already start building the Sukkot right after Yom Kippur. So the Rebbe is going to add that the beginning of that revelation, even though it's mainly on Sukkot itself, but when we start building the sukkah and we have these sukkahs up and the schach is already over there, it starts this idea of the revelation that comes down in the sukkah. The brackets, we can say, the hascholas gilui zeh, the beginning of that revelation, hi b'hayomim shebein yom hakippurim l'sukkos, that's in the days that are between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. In other words, we don't have to wait for Sukkot for that Gilui, but the Gilui starts already in the days that are between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. Sha'oz hi ha'achona l'mitzvah sukkah. In those days is the preparation for the mitzvah sukkah. V'oz asiyas ha'sukkah. And that's when we build the sukkah. The build the sukkah is in between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. So what does it mean? It begins, Hainu shebiyomim elu. That means that in these days that are between Rosh Hashanah and between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, hi ha'achona v'ha'ascholas hamshochas hagilu d'yom kippurim. It's the preparation. Preparation means what's going to happen on Sukkot, but it's also the beginning of the hamshochas hagilu d'yom kippurim, which is mainly above, because we said the Gilui of Yom Kippur is above, but Gam Lamata, that should also come down below, that starts already, not Mamish when Sukkot comes, but already in the days in between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, we can see already the Sechach for the full revelation to be on Sukkot. So now that we associated the level of sukkah, the schach of the sukkah, to the anan haketoris of Yom Kippur, we will understand this is that we say that the schach is makif, that it's the surrounding, because essentially the ketoides is also a level of makif. The schach comes from the ketoides of Yom Kippur. Besides the fact is that the ketoides is a smoke, is a cloud, but in the Beis Hamikdash you have sacrifices, korbanos. The korbanos are called lachmi liishai. Those are bread. Those are inner, just like a food that a person takes inside. That's ketoides is mostly an incense. It's mostly a smell. So the korbanos versus ketoides, the services in the Beis Hamikdash, is considered pnimi and makif. The food, the ketoides, the korbanos are considered pnimis. They're lachmi, they're Hashem's bread, but the ketoides is considered to be the makif, and that creates the makif of schach of the sukkah. So let's look inside. Bezehu ma shesukkah bechinas makif. This is what we're saying, that sukkah is the level of makif. Now that we explained where it comes from, the hine hahefresh bein ketoides lekorbanos. What's the difference between ketoides and the korbanos? Shebe korbanos kesiv lachmi liishai. By korbanos it says, it is my bread that goes to the fire, which they burnt the korbanos on the mizbech. The lechem hu inyan pnimi. Lechem, bread, is an idea, something internal. You internalize. This is one thing, is that it's considered a pnimi, but it's the pnimi to the extent that it was actually consumed by the kohanim and it was consumed by the bailim. V'yesh korbanos shehem nacholim gam lekohanim. There's some korbanos that are not only burnt on the mizbeach, but they're also eaten. The kohanim take part in those korbanos. And then the korbanos and nacholim gam lebailim, and there's also korbanos that are eaten for the master, the owners of it. Ulechol adam, some of them are eaten by all people. So the bottom line is, it's a lechem, it's a bread, it's internal, and people internalize it, people eat it. That is the idea of korbanos, as opposed to mash'enkin ketoides, as opposed to the idea of ketoides. Especially when we talk about Yom Kippur ketoides umakif, that's a level of makif. You don't internalize. It's not like the korbanos. And therefore, since what takes place Yom Kippur comes out begilui on Sukkos, gam hagilui shaloi liyom chagenu, also the revelation of Yom Kippur, of the ketoides, the way it comes out liyom chagenu, on the day of the Chag of Sukkot, ube'inyan shel makif. That's why it expresses itself in an idea of encompassing, in an idea of surrounding. Hamakif the schach, which is the surrounding and the encompassing of the schach. Now, as we said before, makifim could be either like a sukkah, which is a fully makif, or it could be a makif like a garment, which surrounds it, but it's still measured by the person. Each part of the body will get a different type of garment. So there is still, but some sort of connection to the makif, which is associated to the person, as opposed to the makif of a sukkah, which is completely makif. So it says, because we're talking about a makif that comes from the anan haketoides, from the kodesh hakadoshim. Kodesh hakadoshim is the distinguished. So that makif comes in a way which is completely makif. It says, mikivon shehu shayich l'kodesh kadoshim. The ketoides that we're talking about Yom Kippur, that was brought in the Holy of Holiest. So we're talking about a ketoides not the regular ketoides, the ketoides that were brought every day. That was brought on the inside on the Mizbeach Hazov, but it was not in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So, but the ketoides of Yom Kippur, which is connected to Kodesh Kadoshim, Shuhu Amiti So'inyan the Makif, that is the true idea of Makif, is the Holy of Holiest. Lochein, Gam HaMakif, the Sukkah HaNimshach Ma'anan HaKetoides, the Yom Kippurim. That's why the Makif of Sukkah, which extends from that cloud of Ketoides Yom Kippur, it's higher than the makif of a garment, which is makif, but not as high. That's higher than the makif. His chalkus, and there is no division, there's no separation. Ba'ad shemakiv gam es alavushim dereish kuf v'regel kecha, to the extent that the makif of sukkah not only does it surround the person, it surrounds the person and his garments. The garments also are surrounded by the sukkah, and the head and the body and the foot, everything together is makif. There's no ischalkus, because we're talking about the true idea of makif, because this comes from the Kodesh HaKadosh. So the Rebbe asked earlier. Now the Rebbe explains, since we're explaining that this is what the idea of makif is, we'll be able to explain the question that we asked earlier. What's the connection between a sukkah and the idea of shalom, of peace? We say, Ufreis oleinu sukkahs shloimecha. The sukkah brings peace. The Rebbe will explain now that when you bring in the nefesh, when you bring in the level of makif, that makes peace between the nefesh elokis and the nefesh abahamis, and also between the nefesh elokis itself, because we are bringing in a higher level which doesn't distinguish, which does not become separated by the details. So that's why that brings about peace, just like we find, like he says, by the Tevas Noach, by the Noach's ark. Over there were all kinds of animals, and there were animals that cannot be together, and they lived in peace in the Tevas Noach and Noach's ark. And the reason is, we say, because that was the level. The Teva is like a makif, is similar to the sukkah. When you bring in the makif, this influences the idea, brings about the union of peace. Let's look inside. Dalet. Bezuhi hashaychus the sukkah li'inyan hasholem. And this is the connection of sukkah to the idea of peace. We're saying, the pasuk says, Ufreis oleinu sukkah shlemecha. Put over us a sukkah of peace, which means that the sukkah is associated with peace. How so? The Ma'achar Sukkah, who inyan hamakif, since sukkah shalamaylam is chalkus, since sukkah is idea of encompassing, surrounding, which is beyond separation. So therefore, if you're in the sukkah, it brings peace. There's no separation there. And the makif encompasses everybody. Nimshach mehamakif the sukkah inyan hasholem. So from the makif of sukkah extends the idea of peace. Which peace? What peace? Nase sholem bein nefesh ha'elikis lenefesh abahamis. First, there is peace between the godly soul and the animal soul, because we're in the makif of sukkah. The gam sholem bechol ha'bechina is the nefesh ha'elikis atzma. There's also peace in all the different levels, in all the levels of the Nefesh Elokis itself. So there is peace between the Nefesh Elokis and Nefesh Abahamis that extends from the Sukkah Sholem, and also within the Nefesh Elokis itself in the various different levels. The Mekiv on Shahas Sukkah Makifa is called Inyonei Ha'odom, since the Sukkah surrounds all matters of the person. From head to toe, Lochein al yoda nase sholem b'chol ha'bechinas sheba'odom. That's why through the sukkah becomes peace in all levels of the person. The person, all of his levels, where the head, the toe, which is all the different levels of the person, the sukkah encompasses all and extends and brings peace to it. So this is within the person that it brings shalom in his struggles within the nefesh elokis, nefesh abamis, the nefesh elokis itself. The sukkah brings shalom, but it also brings shalom in the world. Ba'ad shal yidei hasukkah nase shalom gam ba'olam, that it also brings peace in the world because the sukkah is similar, has a similarity to Tevas Noach. The Rebbe explains, Ukiyadua, like it's known, Shesukkah hi bedugmas Tevas Noach. The sukkah is similar to the Noach's Teva, the Ark of Noach. Shabo hoya inyan hasholem. In the Teva was Sholem. This means Sholem in the world because what was in Noach's Teva brought about the peace. What was the peace in the Tevas Noach? The Av Shahoyu B'Teva Kol HaChayis Yachad. Although all the animals were together, Mikol Makom Lo Hiriyu V'Lo Yishchisu Zeh Lo Zeh. They didn't do bad and they didn't destroy one another. They didn't fight one another. It was Sholem in the Tevas Noach. It was Sholem over there, and that means there was Shalom in the world. That Shalom comes also from the Sukkah. This was Ume'ein HaShalom Sheyir Losid Lova. In the Teva was similar to the peace that's going to be in the future to come. When Mashiach is going to come. Over there the Pasuk says, Asher lo yeriu v'lo yashchisu gomer, that they will not do bad and they will not corrupt, meaning there will be peace in the time of Mashiach, but a similar experience was already experienced at the time of Noach and the Teva, because that was like Losid Love. Everybody, all the animals, everybody lived together in peace. Now, here we're saying that the Sukkah is similar to the Tevas Noach that brings about peace like it'll be in the future. And the Rebbe says, but the truth is that the Sukkah is not at that high level as the Tevas Noach. The Rebbe is going to use the terms of Kabbalah, that Tevas Noach, and certainly it's not as high level as it'll be L'Osid Lovoi, but still the reason why things will be peaceful, L'Osid Lovoi and the Tevas Noach, comes from the level of Das, and the Sukkah is connected to Das because it says Laman Yedu Deresechem. Let's look inside. Ba'af shehamakif the Sukkah hu b'chinas chitzonis bina. So even though in the terms of Kabbalah, the makiv of Sukkah is the external bina, but Tevas Noach hi b'chinas pnimius bina. That's the level of pnimius of bina. So, meaning that the level of makiv of sukkah is not as high. It's only as the teva, because this is only in the externality of bina, and tevas noach is pnimis bina. Ula osid lova yeh lamailo gam mibchinas pnimis bina. In the future to come, it's going to be even higher than pnimis bina, than the tevas noach. K'moshihi b'mekoima, as bina is in its place. In the spheres, but basically, L'Osid Lovai is going to be higher. So we can't compare the level of Makif that is in the Sukkah to the levels of Noach and the level of L'Osid Lovai. But Afal became Hasholim, the Bechinas Hamakiv, the Sukkah, and still the Sholem of the Makiv of Sukkah, Bedugmas Hasholim, the L'Osid Lovai, it's still similar to the shalom that will be in the future to come. Ki hatam de lo yareu, de lo yashchisu, de lo osid lovei. Because the reason why they won't do bad and they won't be mashchis losu lovehu al yidei hadas, that comes because of the level of das. That's the reason why there will not be lo yarei k'mishim saima kosuf. Pasuk says there lo yarei v'lo yishchisu. Why? Ki Molo Ores Deus Havaya, because the world, the earth will be filled with das, knowledge of Hashem. That means the reason why there will be peace, the reason they're not going to fight each other is going to be Lo Yarei is because of das. But that is similar to the Makif of Sukkah. L'chein Gama Makif de Sukkah. So therefore, also the Makif of Sukkah Shu in Yonehu Luman Yedu, which is also so that they get Yedu, they get Das, Inyan Das, who poyel Inyan Hasholim Bedugmas Hasholim de La'osi Love. This impacts the idea of peace, Bedugmas Hasholim La'osi Love. So the Rebbe basically says, even though mitzad the level of Makif of Sukkah, we can't compare it to the Teva, we can't compare it to La'osi Love, but it is compared to La'osi Love because the reason for the peace that is going to take place, La'osi Love, comes because it's a level of das, because it says Kikulim Alor is Deis Hashem. And by Sukkah, it's also connected to the idea of das. So we can see the parallel that the peace that comes from the Sukkah is similar to the peace that is going to be lost in love, because they're both associated to the level of das, and because of the das, there is peace. Ubefrat, especially, the Rebbe says, is lefi habir, especially according to the explanation, still that the idea of sukkah, to see that the schach of the sukkah, like we said, has the powerful connection to Yom Kippur, because we're saying it comes from the Anan HaKetoros. Since it comes from the Anan HaKetoros from Yom Kippur, we have the highest levels, and over there, it is similar to La'osi Love. It says, Befrat lefi habir, especially according to the explanation. V'ashayich is the schach HaSukkah, le'anan HaKetoros Yom Kippurim, as we explained, the connection of the schach of the Sukkah to the Ketoros Yom Kippurim. She'in yonehu b'chinas atik. Well, Yom Kippur, the Ketoros, what is it? That's the level of atik, level of Pnimius HaKeser, the highest level in Keser. We talk about Pnimis HaKeser. That's Ubedugmas, that's the Ketoros. That's the Atik is also generally in Kippur is the level associated to the level of Atik. Ubedugmas Klolus Inyan Yom Kippurim. Similar to generally Yom Kippurim, not only the Ketoros of Yom Kippur, but generally Yom Kippur is Yom Shen is Chayiv B'chamisha Tfilas. The fact it's a day that you have 5 davenings. You have the extra davening of Ne'ilah. You have Musaf and Ne'ilah in addition to the 3 davenings. So you have 5 tefillas. 5 represents the highest level as the Vishu B'chinas Atik, because you have the 4 portions that is to you, and then you have the 5th Atik, which is removed. That's La Hashem. That's sort of the highest level. That's the idea that Yom Kippur in generally is the idea of Atik. So the Ketoros is Atik, and Yom Kippur in general is Atik. So now that we know that it is Atik, so when we talk about the Makif of Sukkah, which is Bina, in Bina extends Atik, in B'chinas Bina. Because in the level of Bina, since we're saying that the Makif of Sukkah, at least it is Gam B'chitzenis Bina, it's the level of Bina, the Makif, but it's a Chitzenis Bina, who Gilu Atik, there's still the Gilu Atik. So he's trying to say, so therefore we see the similarity from the Schach to La'osi Lovai, because even though Schach is Chitzenis Bina, but since it comes from Yom Kippur, and we know that Atik comes to Bina, so even Chitzonis Bina, that's why it has this Galus Atik Hu Bina, because Atik, revelation of Atik and Bina, in a Bechinas Atik HaMizgala B'Schach HaSukkah, That's why the level of Atik, which is revealed in the schach of the sukkah, Hoyel Inyan Hasholem, that impacts the level of Sholem. Shalachein Nikras Sukkah B'Shem Sukkah Shleimecha. That's why we call the sukkah of peace, because it impacts the level of peace. So the Rebbe explains over here that because sukkah is the level of makif, and that brings about the level of peace. Makif brings the peace; it surrounds the whole person, and the Rebbe says it brings peace into the world, similar to the teva, which brought about peace in the different animals, and it brings about. And the Rebbe explains, even though that the makif of schach is not as high as the makif of tevas noyach, and it's not like the osi lovay, but yet, as the Rebbe explains, it is still the level of das, which causes it, and also because of the Rebbe explains of the level of atik. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Okay. Okay.
And we'll be mamshik tomorrow or not?
It's up to you.
Hello?
I'm saying it's up to you.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Let's be mamshik tomorrow.
Okay. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Be'ezrat Hashem.
Okay. Also.